The what?
What does it mean if something has depth?
Oh, something that has depth. You have friends? How old are they?
Well, they're not all the same age.
Just give me a guesstimate.
Anywhere from 16 to
16 to 50. Well, 16 is a waste of time. 20 is a waste of time. 30 is a waste of time. Let me also kind of, they're not really your friends, first of all. You have acquaintances. When you say we have a friend who's 40, the truth is a 40-year-old doesn't really want to spend too much time with you. Because your capacity to receive an experience of a 40-year-old man, you don't really have that capacity. He calls you once in a while to just check up on you. Are you flossing? Are you brushing your teeth every night? That's the extent of your conversation. What do you think is a 40-year-old going to call you and do what? Give you what? Life wisdom? Life lessons? Of course not. I think it's good for you to be friends with a 50-year-old, but it depends who the 50-year-old is. You know, Hugh Hefner was 90. Donald Trump is about 75. I mean, just because you're old, it doesn't mean that you have any substance to you. It just means you're old. You need to find someone who is old and has the stuff that Socrates had inside him. And that has depth. You know, you're 17, you run into Socrates, and he makes you a writer. And you end up writing the dialogues. 5,000 pages. It takes you about 60 years to write. It's a beautiful life. I don't know what it means to have depth. You know, I may have depth, but you may see me as counterfeit, and I can't change that. I may be profoundly shallow, but because I teach philosophy, you may assume, of course wrongly, that I have depth because I teach philosophy. Only you decide whether or not I have depth. And should you find that, say for example, I have depth, what are you going to do with that? Because if you hang out with me, you can't hang out with your 15-year-old friends. Is it, no? I don't know.
Would you say that death comes from experience?
Death or depth?
Death.
Death.
Well, depth.
Death.
That's it.
I'm just kidding. Does depth come from experience? No. What it does, the way depth comes about is all of us in this class have no choice but to receive experiences from life. That's just given. The moment you're born, experiences are going to come your way. Okay? Do you drink coffee? Do you like coffee? Do you have coffee beans at your house? Do you have a coffee grinder? I mean, a really, really good one?
My dad is.
So what, if you have a grinder, a good one, so it has this knob in the front. It says, do you want the beans very refined, mediocre refined, or coarse? A coarse is like you turn on the blender, like 10 seconds later it stops, and you look at it, it's like tiny little pebbles. That's one way. Then you have mediocre. Instead of 10 seconds, it goes about like 25 seconds. You look at it, it's okay, it's not bad, but you can feel the coarseness, you know, on your fingers. Then it says something like refined. Okay? And it's like sand now, it's really nice. Then you have another like point that says extremely refined. And then you push the button and it's like 20 hours. Okay? And then you stop it, and then you look at it, it's like powder. Some human beings have a button where they process experiences only for 10 seconds. Some people, and that kind of defines this amount of depth that lives inside you. Others have this grinder that goes on for 20 seconds, another for a minute, another for 10 minutes. So the more you are able to process, break down an experience, look at it, examine it, be able to struggle, to suffer the pain that you experience by witnessing the things that you're processing, the more depth and the more refined as a human being you'll be. Experiences per se don't make you a refined human being. They don't make you wise. They don't give you insights. It's your ability to break them down, examine them, understand them. And you can't do that on your own. It's impossible. You will never, ever, ever do that on your own. You need someone who's been there, who's done that. It's something that if you, for example, watch Al Pacino, watch Robin Williams, all the famous people who have ever had, say, substance abuse, they'll tell you, I tried to quit on my own, it just wasn't possible. I assumed that I have all the tools, all the cleverness and the cunningness to remove this substance from my body, from my psyche. Not possible. I need a group. I need a community to help me. I need a support system. So you know when, for example, forgive me, he had mentioned I'm 2 weeks sober, the first thing I said, remove all the contacts that would come with you and assist you in, say, smoking or drinking. Because once you remove those contacts, you have less people trying to excite and inspire you towards that particular direction. It'll be more difficult. It'll still be possible, just a bit more difficult. You know, I think if, for example, you're trying to break up with someone or someone has broken up with you, the first thing you should do, go to your inbox, delete all of their emails, remove all the pictures from your cell phone, get any history, physical, tangible history, because then what you'll do is you'll just have the images in your mind, okay? And there comes a time where life becomes a little distracting. In other words, you have to do math, you have to do geography, you have to do midterms for this class, you have a job, you have to talk to your mom, your dad, and eventually the memories will begin to kind of fade. But as long as you keep reinforcing the memories by looking at the picture, reading an email, it's a disaster. It's never going to go away. At least it'll take longer. I honestly have forgotten what your question was. Follow? Anything?
I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. About death and how an experience doesn't make you. Like you have, for example, my dad has siblings and they all went through the same thing growing up. They all orphaned at the same age. They all had the same situation, but all of them are so different in how they would live their life and what they've done with their life. And so it's not just an experience alone, it's how you process it.
Yeah. The thing about processing is, of course, it depends how intense of an experience you've had. What all experiences have in common is that they generate a good amount of emotions. You know, it's like falling in love. And when they say you become kind of blind and you don't see any flaws in your companion, it's absolutely true. Okay? Now, your difficulty, Toby, if, for example, you've had an experience that kind of inspires a good amount of intense emotions, you live in a culture where people are emotional junkies. Okay? They're always trying to get themselves in an environment where emotions can be inspired. Okay? Now, this is going to be very, very difficult in this particular culture. Why? I'll give you an example. Let's say you watch cartoons or animated shows, all right? This new animated movie that just came out Big Red or Red Big or Red.
Someone was telling me about it.
Yeah.
It's a Disney movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I've watched it like 10 times. What is it?
Turning red.
Turning Red. So you have these like 10-year-olds, okay? Thank you, Paula. So you have these 10 plus 2, 12-year-olds, okay? And now they have fallen in love with this music band, okay? These 4 little tiny kids, and they're about like, I don't know, how old are they, Paula? The boys are 12 too?
Oh, no, they're like, probably teenagers.
Okay, so they're like 16. Okay, so imagine like you're a 5 or a 6 or a 7-year-old girl or a boy, all right, and you're watching this movie, okay, and the movie the theme is, yeah, these boys are really cute. I love them. I can't live without them. I will do whatever I can, cheat, lie, steal, to go and watch them sing. Talk about the serpent tempting someone to do things that they have never done or even thought about. Okay? So imagine now at the age of 12, you get exposed to this stuff. So you go to school, and let's just say your name is Jenny. Okay? And you go to school, and there is a guy in your class, long hair. Okay? The skin looks really good. They have big black eyes. All right? And when they speak, you say, oh, they have a nice voice too. So at the age of 12, all of a sudden you say, oh my God, Turning Red? Those guys, he's actually in my class. So at the age of 12, you say, I want to see who he is, what he is. And let's just say it's one of those schools where you get to sit next to this guy for the next 4 years. So when you're 15, a tiny little curiosity, excitement, turns into a full-blown love. How old are you? 12! How well can you understand and process this? 0. You're in the negative. You're far too stupid to understand and process what's happening to you. All you know is that, man, this feels great. Okay, so at the age of 12, you begin to kind of sit and write poetry. You grab your guitar and write like songs about love. You're 12. Okay. So you go out with this guy, you're like 15. Okay. In this culture where you begin your sexual episodes when you're like 5. By the time you're 17, you know, you've had a few scares. You were late on your cycle and all that stuff. You're 17 and a half. John comes to you and says, Jenny, yes, I can't be with you anymore. Why? It was a good hill to climb, but I'm satisfied now. I need to go my way. I read this book called The Gospel of Mark. I want to go figure out who I am. I'm going to go into the desert and see if Satan is going to come pay me a visit. So, what do you mean you're going to leave me? You're my true love. Well, I appreciate that, Jen, but it's time for me to go. Well, you're 17 and a half. Now you're stuck with this volcano that's erupted inside you. You're hurt. And at the age of 15 to 17, you've experienced something that should have been experienced when you're like 35, 40. So at the age of 17, almost 18, what you have is a heart that has been broken. Do you know how difficult your chances are to form a healthy relationship with men out there or women? Do you know what your chances are to trust, to have faith? It was broken at the age of 17. But that's what America is, emotional junkies. Okay? Now, you will go through a string of failed relationships only to be told by your mom, maybe you should seek therapy. And what does therapy do? but therapy has a good amount of benefits. But what it does, and remember, the way we survive in life is you push down negative emotions because you're not ready to face them. We do it all the time, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's been done for many thousands of years. When you go to therapy at the age of 18, you have to bring out all the stuff you push down in hopes of being able to process them. It's not possible because intellectually you're not there yet. So the emotions keep coming up and you keep getting more entangled. So American culture is what is usually called confessional culture. All of us have things to confess. Let me tell you what happened to me when I was 5, 25, 35, 45. Jesus Christ, enough. Okay? So when you have intense emotions, what needs to happen for you to be able to process them? There needs to come a point in your intellectual life where you say, I am so goddamn tired of feeling all the time. That's the first stage. Get tired of your desire to be an emotional junkie. And if you've lived in this junk for like 10 years, you have cultivated certain habits, certain patterns in thinking, feeling, doing. Now you may think this is easy. It really isn't. Okay? It's like turning an apple into an orange. When you get tired and you say, I want to change now, I want to figure out what the hell is wrong with me. The thing you need to understand now is I need you to be a biologist. Charles Darwin. The thing you need to understand about Charles Darwin within the context of our discussion is this: survival of the fittest. You said you come from a Jewish tradition, yes? Sarah there is a Christian. Right, Sarah? A Catholic. Now, you and Sarah are companions. Sarah wants to tell you Christianity is much better than Judaism. You have the Jew inside you, and she wants to make you a Christian. This Jewish part of you will desire to survive, will do whatever it can. Okay? All the ideas you have inside you, all the emotions you have inside you will do whatever they can to survive. You know why? They give you identity and meaning and purpose and direction. Without them, you are nothing. Okay? They are the flower or the tree or the goat or the lion inside you. They will do whatever they can to resist death and extinction. Okay? So, just because you're tired of being an emotional junkie doesn't mean you're going to stop. So, you have to kind of get some tools, whether through reading or therapy or whatever the case may be, or maybe you can find the Socrates, and they slowly remove yourself from the world of emotions. Okay? If you want to understand love, go back to our conversation on Tuesday. If you want to understand love, you need to stand outside of love, which means you can't feel love anymore. You're now a scientist of love. And you become extremely harsh on yourself. Self-examination. And it's really, really, really difficult. Let me give you this in this particular way. Imagine that my father has been abusive. Okay? And I began to kind of experience his abuse from the age, say, 9 onwards. And I have all these negative emotions towards him. And now, because of the way I see him talk to my mother, for example, all those years, I do the same thing to the women who come into my life. Because of the way he used to drink, I also drink as well. So all the things that he used to do, I do. Okay? Now remember, I'm 9, and I'm slowly moving towards being like 20, 25, 30. Never once in the past 15 years have I asked myself, well, what does it mean to be my father? What does it mean to be a father? What does it mean to be with a woman that, well, you can't really spend too much time with? Whose company you don't really no longer enjoy, for example. What does it mean to go to work at 6 in the morning and come back at 10 at night? Okay? Because my definition is very, very different where I am in life. I want a man who's good to me, who's always around me. That is my definition of fatherhood. Okay? Now, I get to be 30. I run into a woman who I find attractive. Okay. We go out. Not married yet, but she comes to me and says, Amir, I am late. I said, oh shit, my father went through the same thing. Now, it doesn't really just pop into my head just yet. That's going to take me some time. But I'm going to be overcome with a good amount of fear and anger. I'm going to blame the woman, for example. Because as a man, it's very difficult to be tamed, to be civilized, to commit, unless I'm forced to. Okay? I will do whatever I can to resist enslavement by a woman, by a family life. She comes to me and she says, I'm late. I say, well, honey, what do you think about Planned Parenthood? No, I'm a Catholic. Whoa, okay. Well, how about adoption? No, that's no good either. We need to get married. Married? But are you sure? What do you mean married? What does that mean? Don't you know what marriage is? No, tell me. We go to church, God, my parents, then we go to City Hall, Joe Biden, they all overlook our ceremony, and that's it. Okay, what else can I do, right? And of course, all the fears, all the confusions go away because we're now planning for a child to come by. And she says to me, we can't live in a studio anymore. We need at least like a 1-bedroom, hopefully a 2-bedroom. 2-bedroom? Well, honey, I work at In-N-Out. You don't even have a job. And whatever we make, most of it is gone for smoking. Well, we need a 2-bedroom. I say, okay. Now I have 3 jobs. I go to Home Depot from 6 to 6. Okay? And then Shell gas station from 7:30 to about midnight. And then I deliver a newspaper, if they're still around. Okay? From like 2 in the morning to about 4. I am slowly beginning to hate my life. And all of a sudden something clicks. My father used to sit me down in his better days and tell me that he just went to a bar, he ran into a woman, life was difficult for him, so he got drunk, found this woman, they got into bed. She knocks on his door a few weeks later saying she was late, he's forced to be a father. He wasn't ready for it. I don't know if any man is really, but he certainly wasn't ready for it. And then he had to get like 2 or 3 jobs. And he thought fatherhood is fun. And it was. But then the crying, then the park, the Target, then the wife nagging, it led him to drinking more, to the point where he just was angry all the time because he just didn't like where he was in life. And that has happened to me. See what has happened? For 20 years, I have hated my father. And it kept snowballing, got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. All of a sudden, my life has turned out to be exactly like my father's. As I'm like swimming in this ocean of anger and hatred and disgust, my cell phone rings. I look at the screen and it says, Dad. I pick up. I haven't spoken to him in like 2 years. He says, hello, son. I say, hi, Dad. What do you want? I was told that you're a married man now, that you're a father, which makes me a grandfather. How are things? Did you plan this marriage? Did you plan fatherhood? something about me is enraged by these questions. But there is also these parts of me that kind of melts and opens and says, yeah, none of it was planned, Dad. All of a sudden, my father, whom I've hated most of my life, he becomes like my confessional booth. I didn't choose any of this. He says, let me come and pay you a visit. I live in Detroit, but I'll come. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll get on my electric bike and I'll ride there. I say, okay. Okay. He comes to my house, knocks on the door, and we go out and have dinner and some coffee and all that stuff. And what he's trying to do, he's trying to push me out of these emotions that not only do I have for him, but I also have for my life. He sits me down and begins to tell me his story from the beginning to where he is now. And as he's telling me his story, remember, in a very scientific way, okay? He's not just being a tearjerker. He's sitting me down and telling me exactly what happened, step by step. And when he tells me this, I'm slowly finding myself moving away from the emotions. I'm beginning to see all of my experiences through his eyes. A man who was drunk, now he is sober. A man who used to get high, but he hasn't gotten high for like 10 years. A man who used to be verbally abusive, but now he has eloquence in language. A man who claimed to be secular atheist, now he's devoted his life to Jesus Christ. Whatever the case may be. Maybe he now teaches at Laney College at the philosophy department. Doesn't really matter. Now he speaks to me in ways that my ears had never heard anyone speak. Okay? Now I'm slowly able to process the experiences. But I need someone to pull me out of my emotional world. Now, the truth is my dad can't do anything for me except to give me some pointers. The real task is now this. I go home, my wife is there. Where have you been? I have no doubt throughout the course of this marriage, she has looked at me and she said, I knew I should have never married this man. She has had her own struggles. But because she's a great mom, because she's a great wife, because she's a great daughter to her parents, she never pushes those things in my face. That you're a bad father, you're a bad husband, you're this, you're that. She's always remained devoted, do you see? And instead of lashing out at her, I say, I'm really, really sorry for being such a jerk for the past like 15 years. Let's go to Costco so I can buy you some flowers. They're on sale, $2.99. It's something I've never done. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean... Now, remember, just as I've had this emotion inside me for 20 years, my father had inspired me this emotion as well. Be sober, be reflective, self-examine. This emotion, too, it's brand new. It wants to survive, but this, too, needs to survive. Now, you have two different Amirs battling within. An Amir wants to go back and just lash out on everything and everyone. An Amir that says, exercise sobriety of thinking, of being. Be kind, be gentle, be forgiving, be observant. Okay? And now I am on this journey of being a bit more reflective. And the only way you can be reflective, you pull yourself back, you look at this, you take notes. And that in itself creates a good amount of emotions. Emotions that are very, very different from this. Talk to anyone who's been depressed and their depression has become chronic for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They try to get themselves out. They're good for a day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days. They plunge back in. And it's this yo-yo syndrome. And it takes a long, long, long time. That's why, if you recall our conversation on Tuesday, my apologies, that life creates every few hundred years, one Socrates and one Plato. So just in case any of you in this class want to kind of go through this transformation, be very kind, gentle, and patient with yourself. It takes a long, long time. Okay? You will have relapses. You just have to catch yourself.